Hello, everybody. This is Kyle, and you are back here watching Knockouts and Three Counts. Now, I could see how you might be confused because if you're new to the channel, there's a new face on the other side. But if you're a fan of Breaking Down the Ring, you already know who that is. I'm joined tonight by our buddy Smitty from Breaking Down the Ring. Now, if you've been following us for any great length of time, you know that Smitty, as part of Breaking Down the Ring, is with us at all the pay-per-view parties that we were doing before COVID hit. So once things get back to normal, if you're a wrestling fan, make sure you come down to B-Dubs and come check us out there. We're going to be here to bring you our review of NWA Back for the Attack and WWE Fastlane. So Smitty, how the fuck you doing?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
Hey man, I just got done studying a little bit more of this scheme for this work test, and my brain hurts a little bit because I kind of haven't been in school in a little while. I'm trying to get me a new job, and it means I could have better hours, which means even bigger things for the show. But in the meantime, I hate studying. How the hell are you, man? It was good to get to kick it with you and watch these shows.
Man, I'm good, man. Like just getting back to the swing of work. Work at Old Chalet, so we just went through a really busy week.
I hear that. Well, man, let everybody know a little bit about your show, where they can find you, and all that good stuff.
Well, if you know who I am, my name is Smitty. I'm a member of the Breaking Down the Ring podcast, aka the Ring Crew. If you look for us, we are on all social media under @BDRcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you want to find me personally, I'm at King of Wrong Style on Instagram. Under my full name is under my Facebook, which I don't feel like disclosing at this moment.
You don't want to give out his government.
And once again, it's King of Wrong Style on Twitter.
All right, so let's start with back for the attack first, since that was the shorter of the two shows. But before we get into that, and what kind of host am I? You can find me at Detroit Knockout on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you follow the show at KO3C Pod. But if you're following us, you should already know that. And if you hit that subscribe button, I'm not telling you anything you didn't already know, but if you haven't done so, hit the big red subscribe button. Anyways, so first of all, before we talk about the shows themselves, what were your thoughts about the fact that NWA was gonna go head to head with WWE Fastlane?
That was just really bad timing, because even though I've pretty much just noted and watched clips of what I've seen, I've enjoyed of NWA. It just seemed like there wasn't too much build for it. First and foremost, their move to Fight TV. It's the move to Fight, for everything to be on Fight TV was kind of a hit to people like me who were used to getting the build up on YouTube. But looking at the card, that card looked like it was stacked.
So here's the thing. I mean, you have to give slack where slack needs to be given. I mean, NWA, for anyone that knows that it was quite the lengthy absence for them. They didn't do much in the year 2020. This was their big return. So, I mean, they really didn't have anything to be able to really build anything up too much. They did a little bit. They did good with what they had in the like the little remembrance video for Josephus, otherwise known as the question mark, who just passed away, which helped lead into a little bit to the build of Aldis versus Aaron Stevens. But let's get a little bit into some of the notes that I had on this and some of these matches that we had on NWA Back for the Attack. First of all, first note I have on here, NWA, if you are in need of a backstage correspondent, May Valentine is very nice to look at. Beautiful young lady, but she just seemed kind of out of sorts on the mic. Didn't seem like she, like as far as like an interviewer. Now, that's not to be said that maybe she can't cut a promo, but if you watch the interviews in the backstage, man, it was just like, oh boy, like it just seemed like just real. How did you feel about tonight's match?
Do you think it was like first time nerves, possibly?
Yeah, I think they were just trying to find something for her to do, because something that Cody and Charlie and I were talking about as we were watching it too is we saw Strictly Business out there at NWA Back for the Attack, which originally consisted of Royce Isaacs, Nick Aldis, Camille, Bram, or Tom Latimer, and that's it, right?
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
the
so it
group.
was them four. Well, now, as we know, Royce Isaacs is not with NWA any longer. So that therefore is going to break him and Tom Latimer up. So that was interesting because, like I said, Mae Valentine was the valet for Royce Isaacs when he was with Strictly Business. So they were just probably trying to find something for her to do. Not, like I say, let's see how she does if they give her another shot at it, if she progresses in it, because Lord knows I'm still learning every day that I do this shit, and I sounded horrid if you check out what's in the archives. But I'd like to think we've gotten a lot better with the likes of former NWA stars like Outlandish Zicky Dice,
Zicky
which you can
Dice.
check out the link to that interview in that top right corner. All right, now back to the show. So we talked about Mae Valentine, but the first match that we had on this card was a guy who I've never heard of before, a guy named Slice Boogie coming out of New York versus Crimson versus his partner Jax Dane versus Jordan Clearwater, who's wrestled a little bit for New Japan and stuff. All right. Full disclosure, I didn't know anything really about anybody in this match other than Jax Dane and Crimson going into it. I knew plenty of Crimson because of his time in Impact and TNA. Jax Dane, I've seen them as a tag team in NWA, and I know they're former NWA tag champs as well. Slice Boogie really impressed. He impressed, but like I said, I didn't know much about him. Jordan Clearwater, again, with what they were talking with his experience in New Japan, he definitely did his thing. Slice Boogie actually got the W in this one, which was very surprising to me. Some of the notes I got here on this match, dude, Crimson's gear was fire, dude. Like, his new gear was so crispy. It kind of gave me like a little bit of a Cody Rhodes vibe to it, but I got to give credit to him. It was dope, especially in a match where he was in there against his own tag partner. You want to try to set yourself apart. But again, I think this kind of goes into what you were talking about before we started, Smitty, in that there wasn't much build to it. So I feel like nobody really knew what to expect from a lot of these guys. What are your thoughts on them trying to do this fatal four-way? Do you think it's more of something where they're just trying to show you some faces that you might see on Power coming up?
Yeah, I think this was a good way to introduce a new audience to Slice Boogie and Jordan Clearwater. As you said, some people, if you watch TNA Impact, you know who Crimson is. Even his partner, you may not know too much unless you were watching Power before he went on his hiatus, or maybe some of the primetime wrestling they were doing, the recordings they did with primetime wrestling, I believe it was called, or whatever it was.
Yep. Yeah. Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and then you had the UWN.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I thought. Like I said, Jordan Clearwater had his experience that we've seen in New Japan. The next thing I had on there, obviously this had to be taped because it happened at 4:00 and it was in the same set that they did NWA Power in. Again, I think they were working with the elements. I would imagine maybe this was something that they had in advance, because didn't they not announce like Fastlane's date right away?
I think they did, because I know they announced Fastlane's date around the time they talked about going into WrestleMania season.
So then never mind, that takes away what I was going to say. I was going to say maybe they had it booked before Fastlane's date came out, but that was interesting. Like I said, I'm interested to really see I'm interested to see what happens now, as they told us that Power is going to be coming back this Tuesday on Fight TV. I think it's a good move for NWA going to Fight TV. Smitty, what do you think about that? Because I mean, it definitely will put them in more homes. I mean, obviously YouTube is free, but at the end of the day, this is business. You got to make money.
So
So
smart business move. Smart business move. But NWA, I think Fight TV is a good platform for them to go to. But maybe they could also, I get they don't have a television deal. Impact, like, I was going to try to compare it to Impact, but Impact still does have a television deal. And if you don't have that channel, they still have Twitch to go to. Maybe
Well, and
NWA
I mean,
can do
I'm
something
sure
like
the
that.
NWA YouTube isn't just going to go away.
I think like you're probably going to get it a day or two after, possibly.
I could see that, or maybe they keep doing like the 10 pounds of gold on there or something like that.
I'm 100% sure they're not getting rid of all YouTube content. I think it's going to, like,
no way.
That
I
flag,
mean, especially not when they were built,
show.
not when they were built on that too.
Yeah. So that flagship power show is going to be on Fight TV. I think you get it a day or two after it airs on Fight TV, possibly on the YouTube.
Probably like how Ring of Honor does theirs. I watch Ring of Honor on Fight TV every week.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see how it goes. I'm a little disappointed it's not on that platform of YouTube where I can consistently watch. I do have a Fight TV account, but right now I don't have it activated because
Fight TV's got a lot of stuff that's free, dude. You don't have to pay for Fight.
Yeah, but I don't know. I thought when I tried to watch Ring of Honor, it was
no, Ring of Honor is free, dude. I watch it every week
because I was trying to watch it, and I guess I don't know how to navigate my Fight TV. Maybe that's what it is.
I'll help you out with Fight TV, but no, it's free on there, bro.
Because I was trying, maybe I was trying to watch a pay-per-view. I didn't know it was.
Now that could be you could have clicked on a pay-per-view, but let's talk about the next match that they had on this pay-per-view. In that they had Tyrus from Impact,
formerly known as Brodus Clay as well in WWE.
Right, Brodus. Well, look, man, Brodus Clay was dope, but since we're going with the Tyrus name, Brodus Clay, the Funkadactyl Tyrus, was in action.
Funkasaurus.
For the first time I've seen this dude in I don't know how long, against a guy who I've been seeing a lot lately in Bloodsport, which if you're a fan of Bloodsport, make sure you check out that link in our interview with Nolan Edward, who was on both Bloodsport events here and has really been making a name for himself. But I digress. Smitty, I know you like New Japan, so what are your thoughts on JR Kratos?
Pretty impressed with JR Kratos right now.
They're going just by Kratos, I guess, in NWA, but
so yeah, I didn't really see too much. I didn't see too much of him. I saw a little of him in Japan. I think I saw a match with him and Jeff Cobb, and I was kind of liked what I saw there. This here is something I'm looking forward to seeing more.
Did you see him in Bloodsport?
I don't think I see him in Bloodsport, but the only thing I saw was maybe a couple matches in Japan, and one of them was Jeff Cobb.
Here's the interesting thing. Before we get to the main event, JR Kratos is also a tag team champion with Aaron Stevens.
Yeah, because wasn't it him and Joe Festus? I mean, question mark tag champs before he passed or something like that?
No. So what happened was Eli Drake, or LA Knight, him and James Storm were the tag team champions, and obviously we know Eli Drake is no more for the time being, and LA Knight has arisen. So therefore something had to happen with those titles.
And James Storm was going back in Impact.
Right. And James Storm was going back to Impact. So basically, from what Cody and Charlie filled me in, they basically had James Storm team with Bram so they could get the titles off of the titles off of them pretty much. So little jumble. I mean, NWA's lost a lot of talent between the Me Too and not doing anything through the pandemic. I mean, like we mentioned, they've lost a few people. But speaking of Tom Latimer, the next match we had was Tom Latimer versus the Pope for the television title. Now, first of all, before I talk about Tom Latimer, let's talk about the Pope, because I heard somebody say that he didn't want to show his physique off because my man was wrestling in an Under Armour. I don't get it. The Pope still looks great, but it was nice to see the Pope back in the ring. Although, as I told you in that link that I told you, he took the television title from past guest of this show, Outlandish Zicky Dice. So what are your thoughts on seeing Pope back with a title here in 2021 after, for all intents and purposes, I mean, dude, he was in the WWE 13 years ago.
I know he was wrestling on the Independence. So, am I muted? Oh no.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I have a habit of forgetting to hit my mute button. Take and turn it off. But I know he was on the Independence, and I know he was doing some production for NWA when it first started. To see him back in the ring, you look like he hasn't missed a step from what I've seen thus far. And from what I understand, that match ended in a draw, right? A time limit draw.
Well, it did, and so it did. And excuse me, since we're talking about the endings, I forgot to mention Tyrus versus JR Kratos. Tyrus picked up the dub over Kratos, which that was a little surprising to me. So that probably is going to mean we're going to see more of Tyrus going forward as well. As far as
Tyrus thing, I think Tyrus is more of a known name to the American audience.
Oh, I would definitely agree. I mean, between WWE and Impact, they definitely know him more. As far as Pope, I mean, Pope was already managing, in NWA before the pandemic, and it had a couple different little things. And like I said, he won the title off of Zicky Dice. But, this is their first big show back. He's taking on Tom Latimer or Bram or whatever you want to go by for him.
It's also a day one since NWA reopened its doors.
Right. I mean, dude, he's been killing it for a long time. Don't think that he's just a tag wrestler. I think with the time limit draw, because with their television title matches, they have is it 15-minute time limit?
15.
So they have the 15-minute time limit. They went to a time limit draw. I think that we could very well see them just run that back, but we'll have to see where they end up on this one. Thunder Rosa versus Camille. Now, Thunder Rosa, has been on a damn roll, dude. I mean, she had that match with Britt Baker where they were the first women's main event on AEW Dynamite, which absolutely killed. First of all, not just for a women's match, they killed as a wrestling match.
Dave Meltzer gave it 4 3/4 stars.
Well, we all know you got to go by the almighty Meltzer rating.
We use Meltzer's system as via sarcasm.
Oh no, that was total sarcasm. But good matchup, dude. Like I said, I like Camille. They were trying to build her up before Power went off the air with the pandemic and all that stuff. I think she's going to be somebody that's going to be good for them in the long run. It was a good, solid match here, but Camille picked up the dub over Thunder Rosa and is now your number one contender for the NWA Women's Championship. What are your thoughts on that, Smitty? Do you think it's because Thunder Rosa is going to be coming to AEW full time, or do you think?
Yes, and as much as I want Deonna Purrazzo to be that first woman through the Forbidden Door, I think it's going to be Camille coming after Serena Deeb on Dynamite to get more eyes onto NWA.
See, I could see that, but Serena Deeb is signed by AEW as well. So, I mean, I could see her dropping that strap, dude. So
I see her dropping it on either AEW or NWA. It's possible, but
we'll have to see what that relationship, kind of plays out to be, though. We'll have to see what that relationship plays out to be with, NWA now being back and having Fight TV. Are we going to see NWA and Impact guys show up or Impact and AEW guys show up on NWA? Only time will tell. I'm gonna go briefly.
The reason I said that because you already have the NWA Women's Championship being defended on AEW.
Well, sure, but it's different when NWA didn't have a platform for them to defend it on, though.
If that was the case, why didn't Nick Aldis come over or the NWA Tag Champs at that point?
Very fair point. See, this is why I like to have the perspective. And if you guys are fans of just wrestling banter and opinions, you got to check out the homies at BDR Cast for breaking down the ring. I'm gonna go over this match briefly. This one was for the NWA. Is it the U.S. Championship or the North American National Championship? Okay, so this one was for the NWA National Championship. It was Chris Adonis or Chris Masters versus Trevor Murdoch. All right. First of all, that was just a good pro wrestling match. You had Chris Adonis or Chris Masters, who is your classic big guy, and I mean has been in the business at this point for, good Lord, 15 years at least. And so, I mean, he's a veteran's veteran. It's nice to see him back, but I'm surprised it's been so long since we've seen him on any type of oh, Smitty, we're losing you. All right. It's crazy because we haven't seen you haven't seen Chris Adonis or Chris Masters on any wrestling anytime recent. So it was good to see him back here. He takes on Trevor Murdoch. It was a good match. It was good to see Adonis back. A good old school finish. Murdoch getting a roll up W to retain his title. I like the old school finishes, man. I feel like we got to be careful of getting too many roll up wins. I don't know if you would agree, but I'm a fan of the old school finish.
100%. Don't do too much roll ups. We get enough of that in the WWE, and that is NWA. I think it's because we get so much of WWE, it's oversaturated for everybody else at this point. So the roll up, I don't mind the roll up when it actually looks like it counts and matters. Yeah,
I agree. Well, we are to the main event. Nick Aldis versus Aaron Stevens for the NWA Championship. Before they went into this, there was a little video for question mark Josephus, who had just passed away, which was absolutely moving, and I urge every one of you guys to check that out. Aaron Stevens comes out in a question mark gi, a tribute to the question mark, a tribute to his sensei, if you will. It is a great match, but they were talking about the whole time they had Austin Idol come out on commentary, which Austin Idol has been associated with Nick Aldis a lot in the past. So I didn't know if he was going to get involved or what was going to happen with that. But it was weird, man. Like, I was waiting for him to get involved. He never really got involved and was just talking. But I'm interested to see if we're going to see something more from Mr. Idol, just for the simple fact that they were talking about that Aaron Stevens is the one who called Austin Idol there. So it was a little weird they had built it up that hard and you didn't see anything, but I guess that's why you got to tune in to Power this Tuesday on Fight TV. The finish was a little weird to me. Like, it was okay. So I'm not surprised at all that Aldis retained the title, but it was a little clunky the way he got the win. It was ended up being a roll up finish like that, but good back and forth pro wrestling match. I think they really hyped it up, and there was a great at the end of the match. They all came out, everybody that was on the show, and they did a tribute to question mark. Great way to end the show. I mean, Smitty, what are you looking forward to as we see Power return on Tuesday?
I want to see what I'm excited to see what they do with Nick Aldis and his apparently Austin Idol, whatever story they're doing there. Big fan of tag team wrestling. I really want to see those titles highlighted a little bit more than they were when Power was first getting started. Pretty much, like, I'm pretty excited just for NWA to be back.
I hear that. Do you think we're going to see anybody added to Strictly Business now that Royce Isaacs is out?
No, I think if we do, it'll be another single, like a random single star that signs with NWA. It's some surprise signing.
All right. Well, let's get to Fastlane. So, first of all, not really much to talk about in the opening match, and this is something that we talked about on our show, and I know you guys did as well. This pay-per-view really felt like a throwaway to me. Like, it felt like they just put it there to put it there, and it was like it kind of was just filler to me. The first match on the card, even though you've got your women's main event for WrestleMania in Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair on one side,
you had the pre-show. The pre-show match, which was Riddle versus Mustafa Ali.
Yep. Which, excuse me for glazing over that, but again, I feel like they've just, I don't know if you would agree, but I feel like they've killed the Retribution storyline. Like there's not really
Well,
a whole.
Retribution angle was killed when they initially came in to destroy the system of the WWE and you signed contracts.
I mean, I'm just saying. And then
They shot themselves in the foot in day one.
Yeah, dude. I think it's only a matter of time before Retribution is kaput.
Oh,
But
it is because after Ali lost, Slapjack walked out the ring. He got a double choke slam from T-Bar and Mace.
yeah, and like I say, man, they need to. I don't know. Do you think they're going to keep them together as a group?
If they do, they're gonna put him under a new leader. And if it's anybody, I hope it's Keith Lee to give him something relevant to do.
I don't want to see that, dude. Just split them all
But
apart,
look,
please.
this is WWE we're talking about.
I agree with that. And I mean, that's evident by, like I said, the first match on the main card. And as we said, Riddle got the W and kept his US title. But in the first match on the main card, you had basically what turned out to be a throwaway in your women's main event in Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks on one side of the ring. And then you got the women's tag team champions in Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax on the other side of the ring. This match was clunky as shit from the start, in my opinion. Would you agree? Oh, Smitty, I can't hear you. You hit your mute button.
Yes, it was the mute button.
How do you keep hitting your mute button?
Well, I was walking up the stairs when I.
Why don't you just sit your ass down for a minute?
Which I did now. That's what I'm doing now. I had to turn my oven off.
Gotcha. So
Don't want to die.
Here's the thing. So I feel like that match was clunky from the get-go.
Absolutely. And like it was a throwaway. And I think I said that when we were watching, like those women's tag titles are completely useless now.
Well, dude, by you adding the NXT tag team championships, basically says nobody from NXT is ever going to win it. And so
that, you know, and the fact that you've already
so they're basically the Raw and SmackDown tag titles, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a title that no one's going to care about.
And it sucks because it doesn't have to be that way, dude. It just, again, goes back to WWE's lack of want to really highlight a tag team division. And in this match, it made no sense because I was saying it when we were watching it. Like, this match is going to do one of two things. Either they're going to win the titles and then they'll drop them in the next couple weeks, or maybe have like the stereotypical, you know, oh, you know, I got mad at you, you got mad at me, and then they drop them, you know, shortly thereafter. So I really didn't understand the point of that match. And on top of that, like another thing that we talked about while we were watching it, why can't we always hear all this talk when it comes to wrestling fans about why is there not the female killer? Well, you kind of had that with Ronda Rousey, and the next closest thing that you have to that is Shayna Baszler, and she can willingly and physically kick the shit out of most of the roster. So I don't understand why we don't see more of Shayna Baszler.
They don't see the star power in her.
I just don't understand how, because I mean, again, it's just another classic case of you're working for an audience of one on the main roster, where on NXT she shined, but again, it's a totally different thing there. They're
not giving her a chance to shine.
They're not, and that's what I'm saying though. That's the differences between being on the main roster and the NXT. Okay, the next match we had on there was Apollo versus Big E. Now, I liked the match that we had, all in all, except the finish made zero sense to me.
Yeah, it was a wonky finish, and I think it was the wrong guy came up on top of that, because at this point, Apollo needs a payoff with this new gimmick. I already told you my gripes with things like this.
I hear you, and we're gonna get into that in 1 second. But I don't know that I think it was maybe the wrong person coming up on the top of it, because I think the draw might have always been the move. I think they just messed up the finish, because I think you might get that big payoff for Apollo come WrestleMania. But something I wanted to talk about is something that you just said. So you mentioned how you felt like the way they're doing Apollo's character. I personally like that they're at least making him serious but I definitely get and understand what you were saying. Elaborate a little bit for me what you mean with Apollo's character.
I agree. I love the fact that they're trying to do something with Apollo, but my issue with it, as an African American, watch and a lifetime fan of WWE, the representation of African Americans in WWE has never been something that's versatile. You got three, maybe four basic archetypes within the WWE system as African Americans. So you're either the angry black man, you're either the African, because like when Apollo Crews started doing this, I'm like, oh, so we're going the Kamala route. And you have the happy, smiling, chucking and jiving guy. Those are pretty much the archetypes you get within the WWE system when it comes to African American men.
I can't argue that, man. I when you laid it out like that and I thought about it, there's a lot of truth to it. So you think that's what we're going to get at WrestleMania, though? We're going to get a rematch for them for the Intercontinental title.
Hopefully. And then, like I said, this payoff needs to happen soon, or you've done nothing more than what WWE has always done to African American guys.
We're going to have to wait and see what happens. This next match, there's not really much to talk about. You know, they hyped up that it was supposed to be Strowman versus Shane. Well, Shane magically comes up hurt and Elias catches his smoke. This really didn't make any sense to me. You know, another thing that you talked about was Braun Strowman wearing a shirt. That man is jacked. Why the hell is he wearing a shirt?
Yeah. I guess this whole gimmick's supposed to be some buff train conductor, I guess now. Of the Strowman Express.
All I know is I don't know how excited I am to see him against Shane. And the thing is, I think them putting him in against Shane is to try to give him a spotlight, but I don't think it's going to have the desired effect that they're hoping for.
It's going to be a negative because I'm sorry, I don't think anybody really wants to see Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman at WrestleMania.
I can't really argue that. All right. Well, next we got Seth Rollins versus Nakamura. I thought it was a really good match. I think it was good to see Nakamura get to do his thing with a guy like Seth. Obviously, I kind of figured Seth was going to win this one, but it was good to see Nakamura kind of getting his one-on-one shine a little bit. But damn it, Seth, I don't know if he missed that curb stomp or what happened.
I think it was a bad egg camera angle. I think he hit like he got all back and slid off.
It looked like he got all back, but shout out to Nakamura for selling. But man, does this not just further push home why we need to see more of Nakamura in singles, like serious singles?
Yeah, yes, and no, because Nakamura is one of those guys that his match style, the style that you get the best Nakamura in, is those slow build burn matches where you get to a crescendo at some point. And the way WWE matches are, you don't get that type of time most of the time.
That's why I'm saying if they pushed him back into the main event picture, we could see more of that.
We could, but I don't want. This is another thing. Well, international talent in that company is not received very well.
Yeah, can't really argue that one.
And then like also this is like I saw this match is pretty much a setup. I said Seth Rollins is a Bond villain, and Cesaro's going to be the James Bond that takes down that villain at Mania to get his moment.
What do you think about the fact that we got two Ring of Honor guys killing it in WWE? I mean, I guess Seth Rollins definitely could be a WWE guy at this point, but it's cool to kind of see Claudio Castagnoli versus Tyler Black on a big stage like WWE.
Well, we already got Kevin Steen versus El Generico at some point or another.
Hey, you don't know that.
So we've already had it at certain points. But this is two of the guys that that early 2004 period when they were there.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is something I'm excited to see. So, and I
then,
think the roles are kind of reversed for them because I think Tyler Black was a face in Ring of Honor and Castagnoli was a heel.
He was
when they faced off.
He was, and somebody who would talk about role reversal. Let's talk about Drew McIntyre trying to tap into his inner Braveheart.
Yeah, I kind of laughed. I'm like, it's little. He's already a badass. Why do you got to give him the goofy Braveheart thing?
It worked for this for the match though. Like I agree, especially being the fact that Triple H already has done it.
Yeah,
but
for WrestleMania 21.
Right. But for the match, I mean, to me it made sense. But oh my god, dude. They beat the hell out of each other, which I don't know why anyone would have expected any less being what we've already seen, but man, they beat the shit out of each other.
It's probably one of my favorite. It was probably my favorite match on the whole card.
I'd say that's a good assessment. I think dude, they delivered in my opinion. I thought the Thunderdome spot, you know, Drew said there'd be something special while he had his big Braveheart, you know, Thunderdome. Like it was interesting, man. That match to me, that match was pretty good. That would be a match I would like to see Drew have if it weren't for the fact that he's facing Bobby for the title at Mania. I like what we've seen so far in the feud between these two guys. And what do you see next? What are you hoping to see next from Sheamus out of this?
I don't know, but I got a feeling like this is over now. He's gonna be pushed back to the background until further notice. I don't think they have anything for him after this.
I hope you're wrong, man, because Sheamus did well. But let's talk about something I hope we see a lot more of, and that was what we saw with Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss. The Fiend has returned, but it was supposed to be Randy Orton versus Alexa. Before she ever shows up in the ring, there's the black stuff coming out of Randy Orton's mouth. And then, which clearly this whole thing had to be cinematic, but dude, as Randy Orton's chasing her, the lights fall from the ceiling. And
the wall of fire.
Right, the wall of fire comes, and then she throws a fireball at him, and then out of the mat comes the burnt up, charred up Fiend reincarnated. I'm not gonna lie, dude. That new get up for the Fiend was dope, as you can see in this picture right here. But man, it was bro, it was interesting. What did you think about the return of the Fiend?
You knew it was coming. I was not disappointed. The fact that I thought they would take this match with no contest because of it, or for some reason, but I was thinking the thing that shocked me the most about it was they actually had Alexa pin Randy. In a lot of ways, a lot of men would love Alexa to pin you.
Yeah, that didn't really make sense because after all that, I mean, you didn't see the referee at all as all this stuff's just dropping all over Randy Orton. And then all of a sudden,
like, there was no disqualification. This was supposed to be a regular match. There was no cues of, and people get on the AEW officials for being like, this was sanctioned as a regular match the last time I checked, was it not?
Last time
the interference of the Fiend should have disqualified Alexa Bliss immediately.
I mean, to be fair, you knew that it was kind of cinematic, though. I mean, you could tell it was cinematic, but I have to give credit where it was due. I like the fact that at least WWE played into the fact that the Fiend got burnt up.
Yeah, because the first shot he saw was
his hand arm. And everybody's like, oh, they're Freddy Krueger hands. I'm like, but dude, he got caught on fire. That's dope. See, that's one of the biggest things I miss in wrestling. I mean, although it's great to know that we know as much as we do, I feel like I miss some of the way storylines were really kept to in that stuff. So it was dope to see that. And it clearly looks like we know where Randy Orton's road to WrestleMania is headed. And it doesn't look like it's a very great place. So we're going to have to see what happens with Randy Orton and the Fiend at WrestleMania. I don't know how I feel about seeing Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt again, but I guess technically Randy Orton versus the Fiend is different.
It comes down to what the payoff is. What is the payoff? We know WWE's track record with the usage of Bray Wyatt. If he doesn't get this moment, this is it. This is it. You pretty much Ziggler the Fiend if Orton goes over at Mania.
I think the Fiend's got to have a big dub at WrestleMania, but we're going to be talking about that once we get a little bit closer to WrestleMania. All right, we're to the main event of Fastlane, and I got to say, man, I'm not really surprised, but I'm not really happy with the way they did this match. I mean, I kind of felt like the way they were doing it with the enforcer role for Edge, it almost gave it away that it was going to be a triple threat. And then for it to go down the way it did, I liked the fact that Edge, was like, this was supposed to be mine. You know what I mean? Like, I loved the emotion, the same as I loved the emotion earlier in the night from Big E, but it kind of just felt like you almost knew Daniel Bryan was going to somehow be involved in this. And, like I said, what are your thoughts on this one, Smitty?
First and foremost, I feel like this match was 2006 TNA overbooked. Just more 2004 to 2005, 2006 TNA overbooked to a certain degree. There was a ref bump. There was the interference by Uso. There was an obvious, you knew it was going to be an interference by Edge. And I feel like it was the way you ended the match to a certain degree was just kind of meh. After Edge's interference, Roman just rolls over and goes, "Yeah, here I am."
See, it's tough though, because at the same time, as they're trying to build Roman as a heel. So for Roman to win that way, and now you've kept Daniel Bryan strong, Edge got to look like the big babyface badass.
It looks more like a tweener at this point.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, I just feel like it's a little wishy-washy more than anything. And, I'm not mad at a triple threat, but I feel like with that supposed leak that we keep hearing about how, Daniel Bryan's thing came up on the network and they're talking about maybe him being put in the Hall of Fame. It just made the whole thing a little bit weird. I didn't really expect the whole shit ton from Fastlane, but I'm still looking forward to WrestleMania. I just hope they could straighten this out before we get to Mania.
Yeah. They got 4 weeks or 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah, they got about 3 weeks. But
so,
I mean, go ahead.
So you got plenty of time to build onto this story. SmackDown's been really good with with the storytelling lately, so I think they got a good shot at getting us through till Mania. Keep the interest in there, or even give us even more.
They'll find a way. It's WWE, of course. I mean, they don't always do the best storylines, but they always find a way to make something happen out of nowhere. But talking about not having any more dates, it has now been announced that the reason why Andrade was tranquilo is because he's been released from WWE. What are your quick thoughts on Andrade being released? And do you think it'll have any impact on Charlotte?
You know what? Kudos. You asked for your release, you got it. If you're unhappy, WWE's not the only playground anymore. When his no compete clause is up, I'm interested to see where he lands. Charlotte.
Where do you think?
Honestly, I really don't think AEW is a place for him.
No.
I think maybe a ROH where he and Rouge can do Los Ego and Nobles over there, what they're already kind of doing over there.
That's what I was thinking. Is that like somewhere with a cross between that and Mexico, because he's able to do Mexico with Ring of Honor? I could really see that. That was actually, I just was saying that to somebody. I think
that I can see him in Impact as well.
I could see that, and then that could mean he tangles it up with AEW as well. Do you think it impacts Charlotte?
Impact Charlotte? No, because that's Vince's golden goose in that women's division.
I agree with you. It's just interesting with all this talk of her being taken off the poster and stuff.
I think everything should get a slap on her wrist. You may not see her on TV for a couple weeks, but
but that ain't her fault. I mean, him getting released isn't her fault.
He asked for it,
but I mean, that's not on her. They got separate careers. So, I mean, I don't know. I just wonder if that has anything to play out. Only time will tell, and what we'll have to see happens for the Queen. Who knows? I mean, the Nightmare, Rhea Ripley, is supposed to debut tonight as this is being uploaded. If you're watching this, it'll already be happening tonight on Raw. So, like I said, man, it's interesting to see what happens. I guess we're gonna have to see what happens with the Queen next. But until then, make sure you check us out live Tuesday at 9, as we're going to be joined by Icon Lee. on the show. And then Thursday, we'll be going over what's going down at UFC 260 with Stipe versus Ngannou 2. Obviously, the co-main event, Alexander Volkanovski versus Ortega, has been canceled due to the damn COVID. And make sure you check the homies from Breaking Down the Ring out Sundays at 11. Smitty, make sure you let them know all your social medias. And thanks for joining us, bro.
Man, so it's been my pleasure. Once again, check us out at Breaking Down the Ring at BDRcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you want to check me out, I'm King of Wrong Style on Twitter and King of Wrong Style on King of Wrong Style or Smittomania on Instagram. I think I changed the name again, but I wasn't sure.
Well, with that being said, you can find me at Detroit Knockout. Follow the show at KO3C Pod and be looking for us Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. and anywhere you can find your podcast. And until next time and in the in-between time, peace.